Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, has the drama between the Lakers and the Clippers started already? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, make sure you check out Dreamerspro Max, an online sports community place you can talk about basketball, chat live during games. We have that linked in the comment section below, so make sure you check that out. Anyway, let me get into the topic here. So we all know about this rivalry, this in-town rivalry between the Lakers and the Clippers, right? It's something that's been going on for 20 plus years, for decades. And the Lakers are one of the biggest sports brands, sports teams in the entire world. They're the number two, when we're talking about the most valuable NBA teams, the Lakers are number 2 behind the New York Knicks, right? The Lakers are amongst the 10 most valuable sports franchises in the world, right? The Lakers, when you think of the Lakers, you think of winning. They're synonymous with winning, and they've had some of the greatest players in NBA history play for that organization. You don't have to go too far to think of Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson won 5 championships with the Lakers. You think of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You think of James Worthy. You think of Kobe Bryant. You think of Shaquille O'Neal. You think of LeBron James now. And then, of course, you have Anthony Davis, who you can throw in there. And, of course, you have Shaquille O'Neal, right? You have Jerry West. There's so many great Lakers there's so many great players that have played for that organization. And, you know, they're in a very attractive market for free agents in the heart of Los Angeles, where a lot of athletes want to play. So, you know, the Lakers are a big deal. And on the other hand, you have the Clippers, who have always been viewed as the little brother in town. Right, they've always been viewed as the second team. If for those of you guys who are from New York or familiar with some of the New York sports teams, think of the Nets, the Clippers as you have the Lakers as the Yankees, and you have the Clippers as the Mets, right? Or think of the New York Giants, and then think of the New York Jets, right? It's something like that, right? The city supports the biggest teams, which are the Yankees or the Knicks and all of these different things. So that's how it is between these two teams. And of course, there's a real rivalry between Laker Nation and Clipper Nation. This is a real thing, right? This is a real thing. And these fans really, they don't like each other. And somehow, some way, we got caught up in this rivalry when Kawhi Leonard, who's my favorite player, joined the Clippers. When he joined the Clippers, I didn't know that this rivalry was so intense. I mean, I was aware of it, but from a peripheral standpoint, I wasn't a part of it. So, and I was a Kobe Bryant fan, right? Kobe Bryant's my favorite player of all time. So I was kind of like on the other side, so to speak. So it kind of became weird when Kawhi Leonard became a Clippers fan, and now I had Laker fans kind of coming at us, so it's just a weird, it's just a weird kind of thing. But ever since Kawhi Leonard, landed in LA, he made it clear that he wanted to be the king of LA. He wanted to be the king of LA. And the funny thing is, Kawhi Leonard is actually from California. So it's just funny that, a lot of Californians don't view him that way. But he's actually from California, which is quite funny. But he decided that he wanted to be the king of LA. And him deciding not to join the Lakers and LeBron James, I think, really reignited this entire drama between these two teams, right? Because the Lakers have been good they were good for a while, but then for a number of years, for like a 7-8 year stretch, they weren't good. This is when Kobe got injured, when he tore his Achilles, and then, he had his twilight years, and then LeBron came in, they didn't win. And then ultimately the Lakers went through like a 6-year period where they, when they weren't really good. They were missing the playoffs and all of these things. And while that was happening, the Clippers were surging. They had the Lob City, Chip City. They had, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Caron Butler, Matt Barnes, all of these guys, right? They were playing for them, and the Clippers were doing good. But ultimately, they were never able to break through to make it to a Western Conference, to a Western Conference championship. But now that Kawhi Leonard is there and now LeBron is there, you have a situation where these two teams are really good at the same time. And, these Clippers versus Laker games, I got to say, are the most exciting games and most entertaining games for me to watch of all of the games that I watch, that happen in the NBA calendar. They're the most exciting ones. Let's just be honest. Why? Because they have so many different storylines. So many different storylines. You have LeBron versus Kawhi Leonard. That's a storyline. You have the Clipper Nation versus the Lakers, right? You have, and then the people outside that are going back and forth about it. You think of Shannon Sharp, who now supports the Lakers because LeBron James played with the Lakers. You think of Skip Bayless, who supports the Clippers because Kawhi Leonard. I mean, there's just energy, right? And whenever these teams were playing, especially the first year, man, it was electricity, right? There were so many people that were interested in this rivalry, and the NBA ran with it, and they coined it, the Battle of LA. That was a real thing. And it was really, really, exciting. Now, some of people may say, but where's this drama coming from? Well, I think the drama kind of is getting reignited by some comments that was recently made by Rondo, who just rejoined the Lakers again for a second time. And Rondo made some comments basically where he took a shot. He took a direct shot at his former coach, where they asked him to, like, listen, do you think your game is in decline? And Rajon Rondo, to actually quote him, to read what he said, I don't think my game's declined. You're only as good as your coach believes in you. Going forward this year, I understand where I am in my career, but I believe I can still bring a lot to a team. Now, what is Rondo referring to? Rondo's referring to the fact that when he joined the Clippers in the middle of the season, he was supposed to be their quote unquote savior at the point guard spot, and he went into the playoffs, and Rondo barely saw the floor, right? And it left a lot of us, were befuddled and confounded. We were like, what's going on here? I thought this was the whole purpose to get him there. But it looks like it looked as if Tyronn Lue wanted to go in a different direction and give other players his minutes. And those players made the most of his minutes. We're talking about Reggie Jackson, who they're calling Mr. June. You have Terrence Mann, who just turned into a stud in the playoffs. And of course, you have Patrick Beverley, who put Devin Booker in a straitjacket, in the conference finals. So, the minutes that Rondo was supposed to get, he didn't get it. And now that Rondo's back with the Lakers, and Rondo went out there and made a comment like that, that's a direct shot, at the Clippers. And I think that is going to start to reignite this beef. Now, obviously, it's not a fair match right now because, listen, Kawhi Leonard is injured. The Clippers' best player is injured. So even when we do see these two teams match up, you're not seeing the Clippers at full strength. Nevertheless, though, I think when these two teams do match up during the regular season, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to play each other, I think, 4 times. Usually that's how it works. And I think all of those games are going to be very, very, very entertaining. And some of these comments that Rajon Rondo's made, I think a lot of the Clippers players are going to hear it. I'm sure, 100% sure, that Tyronn Lue heard it. And I think, it's going to be some bulletin board material for these guys. And I think the Clippers are going to want to go out there and make a statement and, and put on a good game whenever they play against the Lakers. It just seems to be that whenever the Clippers play the Lakers, there's always this kind of energy and electricity in the building. And it's something that, I can't wait to see. And whenever they do match up, I still have my money on the Clippers winning those games. And I'm sure the Laker fans are going to come for me just for saying that. But hey, what can you say? So these are my thoughts. And this is why I think that this thing is kind of reignited. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think? Right? Do you think that some of these comments that he just made is going to reignite this rivalry? Or do you think that, listen, it's just the rivalry is there and this comments add nothing to it? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode.